Yes, I was working, but I don't know if I was truly pushing myself to the best of my ability. I wasn't constantly prospecting. I wasn't calling, potential clients. I wasn't putting myself in the community. Versus now, almost 10 years later, we're doing a PR fest. We're going to all these different events. Environment plays a huge role. I feel like you go into the wrong brokerage, the wrong company, surround yourself with the wrong people, it can hold you back. At my original brokerage, they just threw you in the pool and said, hey, go swim. And I'm over here drowning, and I'm like, hey, can I get some help? And they're like, you'll be good, There are days where I don't even want to get out of bed, or there are days where, I feel like I'm not hitting my sales targets that I had set for myself. And one of the most important skills you can have as a realtor is... Yeah, my name is Jonathan Ramos. I've been a realtor for almost a decade now, so this is my story and where it started, how it's going, and where it's going to be heading. So, huge Drake fan. Well, it all started back in, I would say, 5th grade. It was like 2008. I heard one of his songs on the radio, instantly became a fan, and could not consume enough music from him. I had my uncle when I had that old iPod Nano. I had him on his Mac computer at the time. He would help me upload music to my iPod Nano, and I'd be listening to him on the way to school. I'm the oldest of 4, so I got 2 younger sisters and a younger brother, and they're awesome, man. Yeah, my sister, she's out in Utah right now. She's a pro snowboarder. So yeah, she's doing big things. She's living life. So she's a pro snowboarder out there. She's sponsored and everything, and yeah, she's awesome. And then my other sister, she's a soccer player like me, and she's in college right now. So she's playing soccer and doing her thing and getting, what she wants to study and all that good stuff. And then my younger brother, he's a freak of an athlete. That dude's gonna go pro in whatever sport he wants to go pro in. I'm serious. I'm not saying that just because he's my brother. He's man, that guy is something special, and it's awesome to see his development from being a kid to where he's at now. And he's only 13, so he's got a lot more to grow and a lot more to learn, but he's awesome, man. My mom played softball, and she was always into sports, in high school and stuff. And then my dad was like a freak at baseball, so he was always a baseball guy. He didn't really play soccer growing up. He's super supportive, when I got into soccer, he was okay with it. Hurt him a little bit that I was taking the soccer route over baseball, but I played baseball in my time too, so. But yeah, everybody's been always involved in sports, and even my uncle, right? He's super close with me. He owns his own business, so while I'm doing my thing in real estate, we're talking about his thing and his glassware company. And hey, if you're watching, Theo, shout out to you, man. So back when I was graduating high school, kind of like in my first years of college, I was originally studying mechanical engineering and math. I decided that whole corporate engineering world wasn't for me, and then I found out about real estate investing. And I remember the day I found out about real estate investing, something just clicked in my mind, and it was wraps from there. Like, I knew it, right? And I saw how powerful it was, how impactful it could be on your wealth and building wealth for, generations to come. And so what really got me excited was just underwriting big apartment deals, that kind of thing. And so all I did was consume as much content as I could, whether it was watching videos, listening to podcasts, reading articles. I was doing it all. And I was working part-time at the time, and in between jobs when I should have been probably working on other stuff, I was, listening to podcasts and researching more about real estate, and I fell in love, man. So I thought to myself at the time, what's the best way to learn more about real estate, network and make those connections, and make some money at the same time? Why not become a realtor? So that's how I ended up joining the class, doing that whole process, getting my license. And something that I'll always remember is that the day I got my license, my mom told me she was ready to buy her first house, and that was the first deal I ever did. I helped my mom get her first house. It was a mix of emotions of like the first house that we owned as a family. That just meant so much to me. Seeing my mom's face and just seeing that, I was with all my siblings at the time, so me and my siblings got to enjoy the home as well, and it just meant so much. It's almost like an indescribable feeling, honestly. And if I talk too much about it, I'll probably get emotional, so I'm not. But yeah, if I could relive that moment and just see how my family reacted, and knowing that my mom felt secure and felt like she was accomplishing something in life, especially her being an immigrant from Venezuela, to be able to own a home in the U.S., it's like what they say, the American dream, right? And I feel like my mom got a taste of that after a lot of struggles in her life. The number changes slight, plus or minus, but we moved about 14 times before I was in high school. So I was averaging about 1 move a year, moving to townhouses, apartments. So, finally having something that was more permanent in our home that we owned, and, we were not renting, It was just super special. So it was a mix of those emotions with my mom. And then it was also the emotions of like, hey, I just joined a new career and I just completed my first deal, and it was like a lot of growing pains, and we got to the finish line, so that was overall a wonderful experience. I'm always going to stay humble, but this has been my best year of real estate so far. I am so blessed for the support that I've had with my family and my mentors, and even the other agents in my office. We've all been working really hard this year, and 2025 has been the year for me, and I'm happy to say that. And now I'm ready to set new goals for going into the second half of 2025. It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, 12-hour days, but hey, that's what happens when you own your own business, and nobody's going to show up more than you are. Owning my own business, I have to say, is super rewarding. I think that's a really good word to put it, because I've worked in the corporate world before. I've even worked in other jobs that are a little bit more low key, but when it's your own business, like I said before, nobody's going to care more about it than you. And from there, you have full creativity, right? So even though I have, a lot of people like to say, hey, as a realtor, you make your own schedule. You probably get to just show a couple houses and go take vacations whenever you want, work from the beach. That's not true. I'm definitely on the ground running. I got to accommodate numerous clients and that kind of thing. But I think all of it, like I said, is to build my business, build my brand. And so at the end of the day, when I get that positive review, or I see that family that's happy that I got them their dream home, it just really, warms my heart, and it's rewarding, and it's something that I want to do for a very long time, whether it's, real estate for the next 40 years, or even something similar to real estate, but just owning my own business and helping people along the way. Where I'm at right now compared to when I, first got into the business, I feel like it took a lot of mindset shifts. At the beginning, I always remember, I actually passed the exam on the first try, which according to some people is not so easy. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to sell all these houses in the first year. I'm selling $50,000 in commission. I was ready to go. And then in that first year, at the end of the year, I got slapped in the face and realized that it's a lot harder than what you think, because of, having to kind of face reality, if you will. It really grounded me a bit, and I took a step back and looked at the business as a whole and said, hey, what do I need to do? Now, transitioning throughout the years to where I'm at now, almost 10 years into it, I look back and I'm like, wow, my eyes are so much more open to the amount of work that it takes, the amount of follow-up and relationship building that it takes. I mean, there are clients, you'll get clients that you can close, you meet them one week, you close them the next week, and then there's clients that I've been working with for numerous years. And it's never a pushing thing. It's never a, hey, like, we got to speed it up. It's always making sure they're comfortable, and then they, when they're ready, they're going to be ready. And so I feel like at the beginning it was more sales, very money driven. And now it's more relationship building my skills, continuing learning, and providing the best service possible. So overall, I'm very happy with the shift. I think I needed that. And like I said, a lot of growing pains along the way. I feel like now my communication skills have been a lot more improved, and I'm so much better at communicating. And I know some of you guys watching may have seen me on other videos or on the podcast through my brokerage, but believe it or not, I was terrified of public speaking. When I first got into the business. So I was like, man, I'm gonna be meeting so many new people. If I gotta do trainings, I gotta do this, or if I gotta do role playing for sales, like that honestly terrified me, right? I felt like, oh, maybe I'm not cut out for that. I'm not a big people person. And it's funny because I have people, even more like closer friends and family, tell me all the time, like, what do you mean you're not a people person? Like, you're so good with people. And I think that only came with experience, and then with the experience came the confidence, right? So I think that's something that, really scared me going into it. And then I think the second thing that scared me going into real estate, especially being an agent, was that it's 100% commission based. So you got to take this big risk that you're going to work your butt off and work hard and wake up every day and show up and know that you may not get paid right away, right? So that puts a toll on your mind, and it's not for everyone. It definitely is not for everyone. It takes a certain amount of grit and consistency to push through. But I will promise you, once you continue being, positive and, keep pushing forward, I knocked that fear out pretty quickly and realized that, hey, this can be consistent even though it's 100% commission based. So something I learned the hard way in the business was that just because I got my license didn't mean anything. I thought, hey, that's the hardest part. I passed the national exam, the state exam. I studied for weeks on end. I thought, oh, I made it. I'm good to go. I'm going to coast. That's something I learned the hard way. You know, my mentor, Greg, he always told me, like, hey, at the end of the day, you can get your license. That really means nothing. The class teaches you all the technical aspects about, you know, being an agent, but it does not teach you the actual business of, you know, being with people. And a lot of people make a mistake, right? They think being a realtor is in the business of selling houses. It's really not. It's really the business of selling yourself. You know, I had big goals and aspirations, which are good, you know, keeps you motivated, but whatever I learned in the class was definitely not what the real world environment was, and it woke me up pretty quickly, but I think once I got the hang of it, it was smooth sailing from there. My growth process, personally and professionally, I think is night and day. If I remember correctly, I know it's been some years, but if I remember correctly, it took about a good 9 months before I even got another deal. So people might look at that and say, dude, you sold one house and then it took 9 months to get another one. And, you know, that's just what it is when you're growing your business and your book of clients. It's not going to happen overnight, you know. And buying a house is one of the most, if not the most important purchase of your life. And so with that requires a lot of trust from your clients, right? And so being a young realtor, I was 21 when I got my license. So being a young realtor, you don't get that trust right away. You know, you have to show that you're knowledgeable. You have to show that you're working hard, and that's something that took a lot of time to grow. It wasn't until my fifth year, that I finally felt like I had the confidence to really get consistent business. That's around the same time that I joined XR Realty, where we're at now. After I met Greg and learned a lot from him, I noticed a shift in the amount of deals I was doing, the amount of deals I was a part of, the amount of even just paperwork, just busy work just to keep me in the game, versus my first few years. I mean, there was times, like I said, I would go 9 months, 6 months without a single deal, and it just felt like, what am I doing? It really speaks volumes to my mindset, right? In those 9 months, yes, I was working, but I don't know if I was truly pushing myself to the best of my abilities, right? I wasn't, you know, constantly prospecting. I wasn't calling, you know, potential clients. I wasn't, you know, constantly putting myself in the community. Versus now, I mean, you know, almost 10 years later, we're doing PR Fest, right? We're going to all these different events. We go to the award ceremony for the realtors. You're meeting people, mingling and networking. And I feel like that's something that's been instrumental to my personal growth because it gave me the confidence, gave me the communication skills. If you talk to Jonathan as a 21-year-old realtor and you met me now, you'd be like, whoa, complete change. Environment plays a huge role. I feel like you go into the wrong brokerage, the wrong company, surround yourself with the wrong people, it can hold you back, right? It kills your motivation. It holds you back sales-wise, and you're not learning and putting yourself in the best position possible. As soon as I made the switch to where I'm at now, it was so much more welcoming, more hands-on training. You know, Greg definitely helps me out a lot where he's a top agent. He can't be in 50 places at once. So guess what? He puts his trust in me to provide the same service that he provides to his clients that I'm going to do for his client. There's a lot of growth in being challenged, and you want to surround yourself with people that are going to push you. You don't want a yes man. You don't want somebody that's saying, hey, you're doing good, keep doing what you're doing, when you're really not doing good, right? You want that person that says, hey, you're not doing enough. Or, hey, I think you could do this better, right? And that's something that I've gotten from XR, where at my original brokerage, they just threw you in the pool and said, hey, go swim, you know, and do your thing. And I'm over here drowning, and I'm like, hey, can I get some help? And they're like, you'll be good, you know. I'm drowning. They're like, you're fine. You'll learn. And I'm like, yeah, but I could use some help, some support. And now I'm actually getting one-on-one lessons and really being in an environment that pushes me, which is only going to make me better in my career. And I plan to continue to challenge myself even years down the line. I've gotten a lot of good advice business-wise, but it's hard to pick just a couple. Greg has always been someone to say, focus on the service, right? Just focus on the client, make sure they're happy, because that's what brings us business, right? At the end of the day, we wouldn't have this business without our clients. We owe everything to our clients. And I think a lot of realtors, and even other businesses, but let's focus on the realtors, I feel like a lot of realtors will think that they're in charge, right? That they're the main part of the show. No, the client is. We're there to guide our client. We're there to be an advisor and to have some form of leadership skill, of course. But at the end of the day, we want to cater to our clients' wants and needs. And so if you're not providing the best service possible and putting the client first, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. How many times have I thought about quitting? I'll tell you, more than I can count on one hand for sure. So, I mean, there are days where I don't even want to get out of bed, or there are days where, I feel like I'm not hitting my sales targets that I had set for myself, and I feel like, man, I'm in the wrong line of work. But then I always have to constantly remind myself of my why and what I'm doing this for, and remind myself too that, hey, you're gonna have ups and downs. That's normal in business, right? And if things are not going your way, that doesn't mean you quit. You have to persevere, and that's when you really double down and try your hardest. You know what I mean? So I feel like quitting, man. I remember the first year after I set that big goal about selling $50,000 in commission that first year, and I didn't even get close to it. I was like, maybe I should stop. And then I was ready to switch brokerages at one point, and I thought, should I even switch a brokerage, or should I just kind of transition into something else? Then I went to a new company. Everything was good. And then it slowed down dramatically, and I was like, what the, like I had all these really good expectations at this new brokerage. It wasn't panning out. And so at that point, I was like, again, is it me, right? You almost think that question, is it me? And so, yeah, there have been many times where I wanted to quit, but I think I really pride myself on just pushing through. And now, like I said, 2025 has been such a great year that sometimes I remind myself, like, look, like that only came from that perseverance. And that reminds me for any future times that I'm thinking about quitting, I'm just going to ground myself, remind myself that, hey, it's going to look better on the other side. I honestly, you could just get a normal job, right? I could get a 9-to-5, have like tremendously amount of stress, taken away from me. I could enjoy my vacations, my 2-3 week vacations a year. I could enjoy my weekends off. But something about that is just not enough. I'm not being challenged enough. And that's not to say you can't be challenged in a 9-to-5. There are plenty of 9-to-5 jobs that are challenging and push you. And if that's something, that you work in and that's your passion, by all means, go for it. For me, like I mentioned that I was in school to be an engineer, I realized that 9-to-5 wasn't for me. And there's something about being capped as well, that I can work my butt off, work hard, stay extra hours and all this, and my salary may not move up. Versus when I'm in my own business, I have way more stress. It's a lot more uncertainty. But at the end of the day, I control my business. I control how much I make, depending on how hard I want to work. And I have these goals for the future when I have a family, generational wealth. There's lots of things that I have planned for the future that I just don't believe would be feasible if I stayed with the 9-to-5. And I've thought about it too, kind of touching on the point of quitting. Those were some of the thoughts that went in my head as well. Like, why don't I just take this stress away and just work a normal job? It'll make me feel a lot better. But then I think about it. Am I going to feel rewarded? Am I going to get to the point in life that I want to be? Am I going to achieve those goals that I set for myself way back when? And I remind myself that, that's not the route for me. And so that's what kind of keeps me in and keeps my head in the game. Leadership in this industry, what it means and how I practice it is being there and never thinking that you're above any task. I think you should always lead by example. And so when we have, new agents in the office, right now I'm the onboarder for our brokerage. So any new agent that comes into the office, I'm the first one they meet. I'm the first one that they're kind of sitting down with, getting all the housekeeping things done and getting up to speed of how we work and operate in the brokerage. And so I have to lead, right? And then even outside of the onboarding aspect, I try to lead by how I treat my clients and how I treat my business as well. And so leadership is very important because it trickles down, right? So I learned these leadership qualities from my mentor, Greg, who passed them on to me, and now I get to pass them on to the future generation. Some advice that I would have for someone struggling in their first year of real estate is that you need consistency. Don't worry about the numbers now. Right now is not the time to worry about how many houses you're selling. Right now is not the time to worry about that you're not making enough money. Right now, this is your time to learn, to absorb, be a sponge, absorb as much information as you can, and then also put yourself in as many uncomfortable situations, right? If you're a new realtor, you probably haven't done too many inspections, you haven't done a lot of closings, you haven't done a lot of showings. You want to make sure that you're putting yourself, as in front of the clients as much as possible. Whether that means reaching out to your managing broker or other agents in your office, seeing where you can help support, in doing open houses, showings, filling out paperwork, right? That is what your main focus should be in the first year. It should not be monetary. It really should not be, hey, I'm not at 20 deals yet, right? It's really just about absorbing as much information as you can and making sure that you stay consistent. Because I promise you, if you get past that growing pains, portion, that kind of phase, oh, you're gonna be good. When they come to me for advice, I guarantee most of the advice that they're seeking out is stuff that I've experienced myself. So whether it's them coming to me with, hey, I'm struggling in my first year, how can I improve, or even if it's tasks along the way, right? If they're saying, hey, I've never done an inspection before, how does that work? What should I look out for? Or, hey, I've never submitted an offer before. How do you write up the offer? How do you negotiate? All these questions that they're coming to me for, I had those same questions when I was there, in their position in that kind of first couple years of real estate. And so, being able to relate and connect with them makes them feel more comfortable and assured that, hey, it's not just me. Everybody has these questions at some point or another. Being a realtor, I don't really have a daily routine per se when it comes to like my whole day mapped out, only because it's, it changes, right? So being a realtor, you have to be able to adapt. That is one of the most important skills you can have as a realtor, is being able to adapt and deal with change. Because some people, I think, they'll go into the day thinking that everything is planned out. I got inspection in the morning. I'm gonna have lunch at noon. I got 5 showings in the afternoon, and then I'm gonna go home and watch Netflix. That's their day when they wake up. And then all of a sudden they go to the inspection. Instead of taking 2 hours, the inspection takes 4 hours. Then they don't get lunch. Then they're going to the showings. Their client cancels on them, but then another client calls the same day and says, hey, can I see this today? And you got to try to accommodate where you can. And then all of a sudden you're not getting home till 11 p.m. and there goes your whole day, right? It just got jumbled up. But that's when you got to roll with the punches, improvise, and adapt, right? So for me, what I always try to do at least is hit the gym at least once a day. Sometimes I don't get to, and those days do make me a little sad. I also try to make time for family, and then I'm always catching up with clients, following up with new clients, old clients, following up with my team, seeing what's new in the business. Earlier this week, I was focused more on inspections and showings, and then even today, we shot a video at the barbershop. And then now we're here at the studio shooting another video. I originally had some showings planned after this video shoot, and they got canceled. They got moved to next week. And so now my afternoon just opened up, right? So, hey, I'm going to take advantage, maybe do some prospecting, follow up with some older clients. Biggest challenge that I face in my real estate business today is my marketing, my social media output, and just being, branding myself. I know that's something that I've struggled my whole career. I've never been somebody to always be on social media. I've never been somebody who likes, being in front of the camera all the time. And so sometimes I forget that portion of the business. I'm always working with clients. Every day I'm busy, whether I'm doing computer work or I'm doing showings and inspections. I'm always busy, but sometimes I don't show it enough. And by not showing it enough, less and less people know who I am and know what I'm up to, right? And I think once I can get in front of people's eyes and be top of mind, that will improve my business. So that's something I'm really working hard on. I mean, even just being here right now is like a huge step. 5 years, honestly, it can be whatever I want it to be, and I think that's the exciting part. I think it's so exciting. I think a lot of people want a mapped out plan for the next, 10 years, and they want to just follow, step by step, and it gives them peace of mind. But I'm someone, like I said, because we have to adapt in the business every day, I'm okay with change in 5 years. Whatever I say today that I want it to be in 5 years, if it is completely different, I'm okay with that, and I think that's the exciting part. I definitely want to have a rental portfolio on my own. I think having my own rental portfolio will give me more experience hands-on to help my investor clients as well. I also want to be doing a lot more transactions than where I'm at now. And that's only going to come from putting myself out there more, providing a better service, and I'm always learning and improving. So hopefully in 5 years, I'm at a point where I can maybe even be a managing broker with the knowledge I've gained over the past 15 years at that point, and somewhere in my business where I am getting most of my business from referrals. I want to be known as someone who provides exceptional service, someone who's always going to go to bat for you. I want my clients to always know that I have their back in any transaction, right? So I'm never going to leave them to hang to dry. I'm never going to, just leave them in a terrible situation, if you will, right? Like I always have my clients' back, and I want to be known as someone who is kind yet can lead and be powerful. It's not the stardom or being a mini celebrity. It's not about being known to the world. I think what's important to me is my family and being known within my family bloodline. Even when I'm far gone and gone from this world, I want the future generations to know where it all started. I know, we all have different lives and different, family situations, and some people are born into a very wealthy family, others are not. But I know for a fact that even the wealthy families, they came from somewhere, right? And so if I can be that instrumental component and that person to really set the future generations up for success, that's what I want to be known for. I want to be known as that person that took the risk, fought through all the battles, conquered everything in order to set them up to follow their passions and what they want to do by ultimately having generational wealth. And I think knowing that my family members, even the ones that I don't ever get to meet, knowing that they know who I am and they can respect the work that I did, I think just thinking about that gets me excited, and I think that's what pushes me forward, even in life, not just real estate, but just life in general and who I want to be as a person. It's just knowing that those future generations will be taken care of and they never have to struggle.
Ain't no chance I'm coming down, no. Got a soul view to myself, yeah. Why would I give it up? Why do they